All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Truth is Real podcast. This is your host, Vedo, and I have the lovely
Piper.
Piper. So we are thankful to have Piper come bless the Truth is Real up close and personal edition
Yes.
on this lovely, what's the day? Monday,
Monday. Yes.
beginning of the week. So, we're
Kicking
going to
off
kick
right.
this off with Piper on here. And before we get this started, we always like to give our guests a quick 60 seconds rundown of who you are. Let us know. Give us your Instagram. Let us know quickly a little bit about you in 60 seconds.
Okay, so I am Piper. My Instagram and all social media channels are P underscore did that. I am a music consultant. I also do events for the amazing Whitfield Entertainment Group Studios in Washington, D.C. We do everything from concerts to galas, charity events. But my passion is definitely the DMV music scene. I work with a lot of different artists from here and all over, just trying to grow my network and put good content out there, help people on their journey in this entertainment industry. And on top of that, I am a full time mommy. I have
Okay.
two beautiful, beautiful babies.
Okay.
And that's really it. I'm very low key, very simple, best friend vibes, but I keep it to myself to the most part. So
That's what's up. That's what's up. So let's give her a hand clap, please. Yes, entrepreneurship. We love entrepreneurship on the show. We love it. We love it. We love it. We love it.
yes.
Well, again, thank you for coming and blessing the Truth is Real podcast. If you don't know about the Truth is Real podcast, I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown of what the Truth is Real podcast is about.
Okay.
The Truth is Real podcast is really just breaking down a lot of perceptions that we do see on social media.
Yes.
And not just in social media, just that we hear through the world that we live in, and we like to dig deep into a lot of these perceptions and what people say, and just try to figure out what's really real, what the truth is behind everything,
Right.
and Instagram and I guess you could say Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media site people use, TikTok and so forth. You'll always see things on there that people living a certain life or doing things that a lot of people wish they could do or, wonder, wish they could be that person. You know what I mean? Not
Right.
really knowing what those people really go through in real life and what's really for entertainment and what's really the truth in
Right.
everything.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
our goal is to, bring people on the show with different backgrounds, different point of views, different beliefs, and just kind of have an open conversation and an open dialogue regarding, things that we do see and try to dig in and figure out what the real truth is behind a lot of stuff we do see throughout social media, like I said, throughout our life. So
Yeah, no, I love that.
that's kind of the breakdown what the Truth is Real podcast is about. And, we're going to get things going. And a lot of times before I get deep into anything, I just try to get, a good conversation going with everybody and
Okay.
get everybody warmed up and everything.
Icebreakers. I
Yeah.
got you. Come on,
Nice
hit me
little
with your
a
best
nice
shot.
little icebreaker and everything. And, I like to always kick that off. With a quick response.
Okay.
Quick response, okay? Um, quick response, okay? Since
Okay.
you're the only guest right now, an up close and personal
Okay.
edition, we don't have too many guests on here. A lot of times, our hosts they're moving around, they're on the road too, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
holding it down. Until we get to the open table format, which
Oh,
we'll still have
good.
those
Listen, I love
also
this.
too.
This is
So
great. This
it's
works
a little
great.
bit different, but
We doing multiple rapid fire quick response. Like,
yeah,
what's
yeah,
up?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So choose one.
Choose one.
Netflix and chill or dinner night out?
Dinner night out.
Dinner night out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. If it was, if a significant other, so you'd rather kind of be out having dinner than really chilling in the house with them on a regular basis?
I don't watch a lot of television,
Right.
so I will fall asleep.
You fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
Right.
It's not even gonna be
So
fun.
you got to be out moving around doing things,
Yeah,
or
I'm not a big
you're
TV
gonna be out for
watcher.
the count.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
So you're more of a dinner night out
Yeah.
person.
Or we could just chill. But if
Right.
you turn a TV on and like I have to focus on, I literally do not watch television.
Right.
Like I have to make myself watch shows. And if I do, I'll binge watch it all at one time. And that might happen once every 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody, any men that are interested in Piper, I wanted you guys to know what she likes: dinner, nights out. So she don't want to hear about on Netflix and chill because she'll be going to sleep. That's kind of
Yeah,
boring to
it's
her,
gonna be over with.
So we definitely get that.
Unless
Oh,
you want the first have a nap date. I mean,
yeah.
I love a nap date. One thing about it,
Hey,
and we're going to sleep. That's not code for nothing. It's a nap.
that means night, night.
Night night, nigga, for
Okay, night,
real.
night. So if you want to go night night with Piper, then you do Netflix and chill. If you want to have an entertaining night and maybe not go night night, you go on a dinner night out. So write that stuff down, guys. Anybody's interested in Piper, she did give her Instagram, so make sure you hit her up in her DM if you
Oh
want to
goodness.
do a dinner night out. So that's what's up on that. All right, so one more.
Next,
You ready?
I'm ready.
Sand and beaches or gifts and money?
Mm. Mm. Sand and beaches.
Sand and beaches. So you like to travel?
I do.
Like to travel? You want to travel the world?
Yeah, I do.
So you say, look, I got money, I got
Yeah.
gifts, but nice little experience
Yeah, because I don't see
traveling.
that's the thing. Like, time is such
Right.
a valuable resource right
Time.
now.
Keyword time.
So for me,
To
it's not.
relax and enjoy
Yeah,
with a significant other is worth more than just a quick little gift sometimes.
right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Not
right.
saying you don't like gifts, but if you had to
No,
make a
yeah.
choice real quick, and
If
you
I
like,
had
look,
to, yeah.
I can even get you these new shoes, or we could take a nice trip to the Fuji Islands,
Right.
or
That one. The latter. Mm-mm.
memories too, right?
Yeah, I like
Memories,
memories. I like
memories.
views. I like because again, I'm not a big TV
Experiences,
person. Like I like to
experiences.
see things,
Right.
experience things.
Okay. I like that. I like
Mhm.
that. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we getting her warmed up, so, I think she's ready to kind of get into something a little bit deeper.
Okay.
I think we can kind of, real quick, let me ask you a quick
Sure.
question from a woman's point of view.
Okay.
Do you feel like African men have really elevated when it comes to women now and days? And just want to ask you that question.
You said African
Yes,
men,
men. Do you feel like
as
they're
in African men or
African?
African American
I
men?
mean, the African men that are out here that they're everyday African men. I don't really mean specifically live in Africa, but what I
No, I'm
mean
saying
is
like
just the
here.
African nationality, African.
Got it.
Do you
Got it.
feel like they have really elevated when it comes to women? Like, do you feel like they're really grabbing a lot of these women up nowadays? Do you feel like they're winning in the game?
So what I think it has to go what I think it has to do with is exposure. I
Okay.
think a lot of women don't travel a lot, right? Whether
Uh-huh.
it's like it's just becoming acceptable for a woman to travel on her own.
Right.
And so like other cultures and other people who have these different lifestyles and different backgrounds and different feelings that they put out there, it can seem like that. It'll seem like they're being extra doting because
Right.
you've never experienced that or you've never seen that.
Right.
But if you've experienced that, then it's just like this is like this is normal. This is how
Right.
I'm supposed to be treated.
Right.
So
So do you think African men treat women better than a everyday black male?
no, I would say that you sacrifice different things. Like in the things that I've observed, you might have more on like the doting or gift side or
Right.
showering of these types of things. But then there's also other things that you have to deal with where, of course, there's a lot of people feel like they have a lot of options,
Right.
So and that's very culturally accepted over there. Here it's just kind of like if you have a good quality man, like he's not going to do that. But and it's just something that people have excused over time.
Right.
But over there, it's cool. Like people have multiple wives, multiple whatever. So when they come here and you don't actually like put it out there, I feel
Right.
like a lot of times it can be you're sacrificing one thing or the other.
Right.
So
Okay. That was just out there.
I love my brothers. Like
Right.
it is what it is. Like everybody got good and bad with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to hear what you had to think to say
Mhm.
from a woman's point of view. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me ask you another quick question.
Sure.
In a relationship, do you feel like the man should make more money than the women?
No. I've been in relationships where that wasn't the case. I've been in a relationship where it was the case. I've been in relationships where at one point it was the case, and at one point it wasn't, and then it was again.
Right.
It just I don't really I don't believe that. Like I feel like no, it's not a should thing to
Not
me.
sure. Do you feel like when you're talking about the general masses of women,
Mhm.
do you feel like most women, especially I guess let's say the 20 to 30-year-old women, do you feel like they feel like in their mind that if a man makes less money than them, that they're less of a man to them?
So it's a really interesting way that you worded that, right? So we're talking about masses. And to your point, I would say that I do feel the masses believe that.
Right.
But by the same token, I also think that what is common
Right.
and what is widely accepted is not always the correct thing.
Right.
So that to me is like a very surface question. Like, if you believe that to be the case, why? Would be my
I was
follow
going to
up.
ask you that. I was going to ask you, why do you think women feel? You think they were just raised that way? You think that's just the belief that a man should be the breadwinner, and that's
Um,
just what's just people just think because you're just being the man?
well, I feel as though people have assessed a dollar value to what it means to be a provider.
Okay.
And there are dollar values to providing,
Right.
but there's a lot of qualities and capabilities that a lot of men can do and are willing to do that don't necessarily equate to them having to be the breadwinner.
Okay.
Um, and so I feel like if you just kind of harp on the financial element, you will really kind of lose out on a lot of other benefits that may far exceed that,
Right.
so.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. I just wanted to pluck your brain a little bit on that and
It's
just
all
kind
good.
of
Oh
see
no,
what you. I
come
mean,
on.
it's
I thought we was getting deep. Let's go.
I
I'm
like that
ready.
your outlook. Your outlook is different. That's
Appreciate
good to
that.
hear. That's good to see. Why do you think we cheat? This in general as human people. Why do you think we cheat? Why do you think this in relationships we have a nature to cheat? And we know a lot of people say, "Oh, I never cheated," but just let's keep it real. In nature, it happens. You know what I'm saying? People do cheat. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you cheated. Um, I think there's always, a reason behind the cheating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, my personal. I mean, I asked you a question. I'm
No,
talk answering
no, go
before,
ahead.
but
I'm ready. We're good.
I just feel like that. My personal belief is that a lot of people cheat because they're in relationships that they should not be in,
Mhm.
or they're choosing to be in relationships for other reasons that would make you not want to cheat. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, from a man's point of view, we're not born into cheating. You know what I mean? And I don't think that just because you're a man, you cheat. I don't. I
Mhm.
don't. I don't believe that. I believe that a lot of us, excuse me, a lot of us were raised differently.
Right.
A lot of us don't even know what love is. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we don't even know what being in a relationship is. We don't
Yeah.
even know what playing the role of a man in a relationship is.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And we think we like somebody because we think we want to be with somebody because of the way they make us feel.
Mhm.
Sometimes, right?
Mhm.
And that feeling may not always be justified as something that we need, but it's just something we like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's women that date men all day long that are bad men, but it's something they're attracted to that makes them tick, right?
Mhm.
So I just feel like a lot of times we have misunderstandings of what a relationship is about. A lot of times we're in relationships because we don't want to be by ourselves,
Mhm.
financial reasons, and so forth. So before we dig deep into that, I want to take a quick 10-minute break. You know what I
Sure. No
mean?
problem. Okay. 'Cause I
Kind of
was
get,
say I
kind of
was
get,
ready for
kind of
you.
get comfortable,
Okay.
and we're gonna bring it back in. Might have another guest come on while we answer these
Sounds
questions and
good.
everything like
Sounds
that.
good.
But again, we have Piper on here. This is your host Vedo, Truth is Real podcast. We'll be back,
Yeah.
up and close and personal with Piper and Vedo. Truth is Real podcast.
Period.
We'll be back.
All right.
All right. We're back. We're back to the Truth is Real podcast, up and close and personal edition with your host Vito. We got Piper back on here, part
Piper.
two, and then we have somebody that's always running late, but we're blessed to have him here like always. What's your name?
Noel.
Noel. Okay, Noel. Noel was on prior episodes that got a lot of commenting going on, a lot of controversy going on. So we had to bring her back on. Hopefully, she'll entertain us again. This go around the well. We can't curse on here. We gotta be mindful what we're saying because I want to make sure we get some ads running. Okay, so
So sorry.
speak your mind. Just speak it in a way that we can make sure we can get this
Some
on
dollars.
so yeah, get some money, right? Get some money. So, Noel, you want to give a quick shout out your Instagram, who you are, real quick, 60-second rundown before we
Yes.
get started. Go ahead.
So my Instagram name is She's So
And the
Amazing.
camera's that way
Oh,
too.
over
This is
here. My
FYI.
Instagram name is She's So Amazing. I bartend at the Phantom. Y'all gotta come see
Phantom
me.
Nightclub.
Definitely on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Favorite night. There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, well that was perfect. All she had to do was say her name and Phantom Nightclub, and that worked perfectly for me. So I appreciate you coming out. Let's give another hand clap for her, please. Yes, thank you, thank you,
Welcome,
thank you,
welcome,
thank you, thank you.
welcome.
So we were having some good conversations, and before we took a break, we were getting deep into something about why people cheat,
Yes.
and we were digging deep into it. I was just, I'll give you a brief rundown of what I was saying before I passed it to Piper because she had some stuff that she definitely wanted to say.
Yeah.
I was just saying I think a lot of people cheat because they're just not ready to be in relationships. You know what I mean? They're choosing to be in relationships for other reasons. That's not going to keep you secure when it comes to not cheating. You know what I mean? Temptation is a strong thing. You know what I mean? And that's on both sides, male and females. And I just think that to be able to control temptation, it takes a stronger relationship, a stronger bond than just someone being with somebody because they look good or monetarily value or they just don't want to be by themselves. You know what I mean? And I just think that times have changed. We're moving fast. We're meeting people every day, and all of a sudden we're in love. 3 weeks later, a month later, we're in love, and then you're living with that person. You know what I mean? And then who knows? Some people getting pregnant and so forth, and they wonder why the man might be out cheating while the woman's pregnant. And you got to think about it. How long have you even known that man?
Correct.
How long? What have you ever gone through to even know that that man's going to be there through that time? You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's keep it real. Yes, when you're on bed rest and you have a big stomach, I mean, if the man's not really deeply emotionally involved, then he probably will go cheat. I mean, let's keep it 100. He probably will. So I just break it down to that's why you need to know what you're getting into before you get into it. And you can't always blame the other person because a lot of times we know that person or who we choose to be with probably is not the person we need to be with for the long term. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna let you answer that question. Why do people cheat? Not men and women, just why people in general cheat.
Well, yeah. So your answer prior to the break and now you hit on a lot of interesting points.
Okay.
Um, prior to the break, you said that not understanding love,
Right.
right? So a lot of the things that you're describing are lust oriented, and a lot of people don't understand the difference between those two
Infatuation.
things.
Yeah.
So love is not an emotion, which people like to treat it like a feeling. It is not that. And so I feel like cheating is a result of not understanding what love is and being able to commit yourself to that.
Right.
Especially if you're doing it on a like shotgun basis or someone that you just met. Love is literally the commitment that you're going to choose this person and
Right.
you're going to consistently choose them even in their rawest, most unpleasant state.
Okay.
And so that's a lot to take on,
Right.
especially when you're talking about how they make you feel because you can love someone and not like them, right? Because they're
I
like
agree.
feelings are like the wind. So if you fall into the feeling side of it, as
Right.
opposed to treating it like a conscientious choice and decision, you're going to cheat every time. And I say this as someone who has cheated, like truthfully. And it's like I really had to go to the drawing board and be like, what is it about me?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What is it about me that allows me to be comfortable in unfaithful positions?
Right.
Why am I that kind of person? It has nothing to do with the other person.
Okay.
And so when you're talking about love and cheating and whatever, it's just being willing to acknowledge that you are not there, that you don't have those strengths or those capabilities, and realize that it's intrinsic to you because that person could be perfect. You know what I'm saying? Because prior to that woman being laid up on bed rest feeding your child, you thought she was amazing. And now that she brought life into this world and things have changed and things have altered about her, your view is now different because now you have to love her in a moment that's outside of what you thought.
Right.
You have to love the real.
Right.
And that's the truth about it. So people cheat because when reality hits, all the feelings are going to go away.
Right.
And it comes down to, am I the kind of person that can honor commitments that I make? And a lot of people will lie to themselves, so it's no problem to lie to somebody else.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's what I think.
People definitely lie to themselves and feel like they're ready for something they're not ready for. You know what I mean?
It ain't easy.
Yeah. I
Certainly
mean, I
not
think,
easy.
and it all goes down to a lot of people just don't want to be by themselves. You know what I mean? I think if sometimes we're able to take a step back and have time by ourselves, we'll be able to make better decisions, you know? And I just think that, you know, it's hard. I mean, especially women, it's harder for women because, I mean, let's keep it real. There are women out here that do depend on men, you know what I mean? So it's hard for them to take a step back and not be in a relationship because they're dependent. And that's why I always try to tell women, like, even if you want a man that's going to take care of you and give you everything you want in life, you still want to have some type of independency because you could never make the best decision that you need to make for yourself when you're always relying on somebody.
Yeah.
You know, you can never just go out here and do what you need to do for yourself
Because you don't know who you are.
you don't know who you are, and you're scared to make that step because you're going to have to rebuild yourself all over again. And that's why, let's keep it real. I mean, you're women, you probably know a lot of women do stay in relationships for longer time periods because they're scared to step out on their own and have to say, okay, now let me take on all this burden myself. Especially if they have a child, you know what I mean? You know, it's hard for them to be like, okay, I'm not going to be able to go out nowhere. I'm not going to be able to have fun. I'm going to have to just work, come home, take care of my child.
But see,
work,
think
work,
about
work.
that, right? Because again, going back to your point, everything is about your perspective,
Right.
right? So it's not easy being a parent. Like I said, I have two children, one of whom is very sick. He has cancer on top of having diabetes. And it's not easy. But it's like, I don't look at my children as this is work, work, work. I get the opportunity to pour into this life. I get the opportunity to love this person unconditionally and wholly and to figure out what's best for them.
Right.
And help them develop and make decisions for themselves, because a child is not you again. A child is a whole new entity and a whole new being.
Correct.
So I feel like a lot of times those same feelings that cause people to want to cheat or be open to cheating and excuse cheating are also similar feelings that allow them to feel like when you have additional responsibilities that cause you to care for things outside of yourself, that you have that perspective of, this is a hassle for me.
Right.
Versus looking at it as the opportunity that it is. You know, so when you view that way, that's again, it's transitioning your mindset from lust versus love to love versus, because even with children, like, you can love the idea of children and not love your children.
Right.
And that's a problem that a lot of people have. You can see that they'll be like, these are like trophies. And they're not. These are real human beings. So that same mindset, it goes on both sides, even though, you know, it's still love.
Right.
You know, so it's like the same mindset that would cause a feeling of that perspective, to me, is the same thing would cause a person to cheat.
Okay.
So
You have to say, Noel, why do people cheat?
I feel like people cheat because of the unknown. When you meet new people, things always seem so exciting and like it's going to be what you like what it's cracked up to be, and it's really not. So I feel like instead of just leaving a situation without knowing what this new situation is going to be, people cheat just to find out what they can have after the fact. I've definitely cheated before, and it wasn't because I wanted to actually leave my man. I think I just was bored in my situation, and instead of me taking it into my own hands and just leaving because I wasn't happy, I stayed for my own comfort. Like, it was comfortable for me. It was easy for me to be with him instead of me knowing, like, deep down inside, I don't want to be here. Like you said, you can love someone but not like them. And I feel like that's what it was. Like, I didn't like it there, but I also was afraid of stepping out to figure out what else was out there.
Right.
And it was easy just to go cheat and then come back to comfort and figure out what you wanted to do next. Like I said, I definitely think people get into a routine with a person. It's not even the fact that they really are in love with people. They just get used to something.
Right.
Like, even after breakups, it's like, are you really missing the person? Or are you missing the things that y'all did? Like, after a breakup, it's like, oh, they're not texting me, or oh, I'm not with him, or I'm not sleeping with them, I'm not waking up to them. But after you get over that routine, it's like, did I really miss them, or did I miss those things?
Right.
Because I've got over people who I never thought I could see life without, and I'm like, I'm okay. But like I said, it's the routine. Once you get out of that habit of something, you can go on with life. So I feel like people cheat because they don't know if they're ready to like have a new routine.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all hope everybody's listening up to why people cheat, and hopefully you're not in that situation. If you are, you might want to think about not being in a relationship right now. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. We're going to move on to the next topic and keep it moving. Um, my question to you is: what do you guys feel about the same sex raising kids nowadays?
Mm,
What is your opinion
that is
on
so
that?
Can I actually answer that first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually kind of touchy for me because I'm actually in a situation and I'm talking to a female
Okay.
and I have a daughter. So when I first introduced her, it was like, this is my friend.
Right.
But I'm actually starting to like her more. So it's to the point where it's like, and my daughter's old, she's 10. So it's like, she knows that's not just your friend. Like, it's times where I'm interacting with her and I'm like, oh, shoot, let me not do that. Cause I don't, like, I haven't really had a conversation with her. Honestly, I feel like it just depends on the lifestyle that you have and that you expect for your child. Like, you have some people that grow up in families where same sex is like totally a no, and like
Right.
their grandmothers grew up in church and it's like, this is a sin, this is completely wrong. But like, I have like a really like open door policy and open relationship with my daughter. Like, this is 2023.
Right.
There's people in her grade that are lesbians already,
Right.
like already identifying themselves as like a male, and they're girls. So it's like, even if she doesn't see it inside this house, she's gonna see it somewhere.
Right.
So do I feel like I'm gonna like not or hide it from her or not be real with her because what she's gonna think about me?
Right.
Or am I gonna be open with her and like let her know this is like something that's actually becoming to be normal?
Right.
Now, as far as like raising the child, like I can't say how I feel about that, but it's like, for me, I actually like this person, and I feel like if I want to have you around my child, it's not going to be like, oh, she has two mothers. Like, I don't really feel like that's a thing for me.
Right.
Like, she knows who her mom is, she knows who her dad is, and this is somebody that my mom is dealing with. So like, I feel like you have to draw the line and know, like, let your kids know who is who.
Right.
Sometimes it can become confusing for them when you say, oh, I'm your mom and that's your mom.
Right.
Because they go to school and they have a mom and their friends have moms and dads. So now it's like, well, I have two moms. And then it becomes a debating thing and like a controversy thing between the kids. So it's like, I feel like if you set the boundaries and let them know, like, look, I'm your mom. And this is my female friend that I'm dealing with. I don't really see the issue. But like, I don't like when people
Do
be
you
like,
feel
this
like
is my dad. This is my dad. Like,
do you feel like it's pressure put on you in that situation? Because does it really sometimes make you think, do I want to put this out to my daughter like this? Do you ever feel like, like you said, as kids in school, they start saying things and, it could cause, issues within school, you know what I'm saying? Because just like if it was a boy, and I don't know if it's worse if it was a boy, if it's a girl, you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like the boy dealing with it may be worse because I feel like he has to deal with a lot of the boys in school, could be messing with him if let's say he had a father, they had two fathers, or you might not say that, but let's say that's kind of how it looks, you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
honestly, I feel like it is a little bit uncomfortable
Right.
because she's a girl that looks like a boy.
Okay.
So it's like off the break, she already thought this was the guy, kind of, sort of. So it was like, do I want to confuse her to let her think? Because I feel like kids follow in their parents' footsteps.
Right.
So if she's like, oh, well, my
Influence.
mom's dealing with a girl, so I think it's okay for me to deal with a girl. And it's funny because we actually had a situation at her school, and I always look through her phone, and it was a girl texting her, and a girl was asking her about another girl. She was like, oh, are you and such still friends? And then my daughter was pretty much like texting back, like explaining like why they aren't friends anymore. So the girl liked my daughter. And I'm like, already at 10 years old, you dealing with stuff like this.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not surprised because I remember when I was 10,
Right.
the things that came my way, but it was just like, the things that they're dealing with now, it was not at the surface yet when I was 10. Like, they are exposed to so much more. So I'm like, okay, is she going through a phase? Because I went through a phase.
Right.
Like, I'm not gay. I love men. I just like certain women. So I think that's the reason why I haven't been able to have a full-blown conversation with her, because I'm trying to still figure it out too.
Right.
But I definitely feel like it can be confusing
Okay.
to know what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
Mhm.
But I don't really feel like there is a such thing as right or wrong. I feel like you have to just be who you are.
Right.
And I want my daughter to know, like, if you decide to like girls or want to play basketball or want to ride a skateboard, like, I'm gonna support you in whatever you want to do because my mom was that way.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, real quick, we're gonna take a 10-minute break just before we get deep into. I know you feel like it always stops at you.
Oh,
That
it's
means you
fine.
special, right? That means you're special.
Listen, I got
So,
mine. I'm not gonna forget
um,
it.
don't forget what we're talking about because I want to pick it back up
Yeah.
again. This is interesting. I didn't even know what you're saying. So, the question just came out the blue, and it's good that you're on here because people want to hear that. I think it's
Yeah.
good for people to hear both sides, and someone actually going through that, you kind of really speak on that people can take in and really understand. So, appreciate you being open to that too. But we're going to be right back. It was about 10 minutes. Truth is Real podcast. See you in a second. Bye bye. All right. We're back to the part three of the Truth is Real podcast. This again is your host, Vedo. We have the lovely
Piper.
and the lovely
Noel.
Noel back again. So
Beautiful.
we're going to finish this off again. We were just talking about same sex relationships and raising kids. And Noel was giving a personal experience of her situation with a young lady and having a daughter and raising a daughter, and got real interesting and educational also at the same time. So I'm gonna give the microphone to Piper and let her chime in on this topic: same sex raising kids. What's your feelings on that?
So my feelings are a few things actually. So number one, it takes a village to raise kids, right?
Okay.
And my personal philosophy, like in dating or whatever, people don't come around my children. But if they do, it's a person that I feel comfortable with, someone that I feel like would add value either to their, well, not just either, it's collective value. So that's number one. So it's like, vetting the person, male or female,
Right.
because I feel like there's a lot of relationships, of heterosexual relationships, and they are terrible.
Right.
Not only influential towards your children or just in general with people. So I just feel like number one, it starts with the person and who you are, and then it also starts with the children. I was kind of talking to you about this like offline, like a lot of times I feel like we overthink things
Right.
and allow children and yourself the space and the grace to be able to ask questions or to give input because children are very perceptive.
Okay.
And one thing that I think that when it comes to raising children, like a lot of times people will overcompensate for things like in the same manner where you wouldn't necessarily expose your children to drinking or to smoking or to having sex like in front of them or to cursing where you can prohibit it. Like certain things is just not for a child's space, but it's like if they have questions or they want to know certain things, be open to them, be transparent with them, talk to them about that. But in terms of whether or not a same sex, it doesn't, I don't feel like that's, if someone loves you and Jamie loves your children, are trying to be there and support them, then no matter what that looks like for you, you should be open to that and just work through it. Um, so,
Now let me dig a little bit deeper
sure.
into this. First off, let me ask you a question if you don't mind me asking. Are you bisexual, heterosexual, or I mean, what do you? Are you able to? Are you willing to?
So I definitely like,
Or you don't have to be.
yeah.
Or
So I
have you
don't.
ever dibbled and dabbled, or
Yeah, definitely. I've never
open
like
minded?
dated. No, I'm definitely open minded. I've never dated like full on dated a woman.
Right.
But like my Valentine's like a couple years ago was a girl, like we went to
Right.
Mexico. We had a good time. She's super super awesome. Um, but have I full on dated a woman? No,
Right.
it's just not my, like I don't think that I could go into a relationship with a woman. I'm very emotional and very also kind of like rigid, so it
Right.
depends,
Right.
But
Now, do you
yeah.
feel like for both of you guys, if you were a woman that was completely 100%, let's say straight, never dibbled dabbled, nothing like that, you think your outlook would be different than what it is right now?
That's kind of like a hard question to say because I know straight like I know purely straight women that don't feel like that. I feel like again, everyone is different, like their perspectives
And I
are
don't mean to
different.
cut you off because a lot of times we look at it as women. Like I said, what about a man, two men raising a boy. Sometimes we always look at it as just the women, but just think about that real quick. There's two. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just
Yeah.
want us to think, not just on the easier side of just two women, but just two men, two
Yeah.
masculine men raising a young boy. Do we feel like, as we know, when kids are young, that they're influenced by whoever's around them, right?
Yeah.
So do we feel like that does not play a major role into the upbringing of that child and maybe the choice and decisions when it does come to sexuality? You don't think that's a major influence if you are raised in a household with two male figures that are living the life of mother and father, but father and father,
So
that
here's
boy
here's a
wouldn't
very
grow up
unique
possibly being
question.
pushed towards that direction without having the opportunity to make his decision. And I mean, I'm just asking. I'm not, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not saying right or wrong. I just want us to think deeper into it
No, I
and
got
dig deeper
you.
into it.
I got you, right? So that's it. The perspective, I get where you're coming from, right? So my question would be this to you. Do you think that a person's sexuality is a direct factor of influence or their genetic
I think
predisposition?
it's different reasons. I don't think no one's the same. I think some people have been abused. Some people had a lot of things that happened to them, trauma that made them go that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people may be born that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are influenced into that
For
direction due
sure.
to just being non-social sometimes. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just being wanted. You know what I mean? I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's a lot of different reasons. I think you can never pinpoint one thing and say this person chose that because of this. So I would
Exactly.
never say that. You know what I'm saying? I
Exactly.
believe whatever someone's choices with their choices.
Right.
But I do feel like when you think about the kids, you do have to put that in your mind and say, does that play a major role? And if it does, how do we feel about that? And how do we go about that? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because again, I think we just, I don't think no one should be judged just because of their choices in life. But it's just like if you put a child around anything, like I said, they're going to take that in. And it all depends on what your upbringing is also and how you might feel about it. You know what I'm saying? Some
Mm-hmm.
people were in a family household where it was open situations like that where,
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot of different things going on. And some people were growing up in a real church family oriented situation
Mm-hmm.
where that's like frowned upon, and they have to hide it and stuff like that. So I think it definitely does depend on your upbringing. But I always, I feel like when you're an adult, you choose to do what you want to do. And I think, that's just being an adult. But I think when it does come to kids, we do have to be careful. And like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think we have to be careful. I think it's an open conversation that should be spoken about because it does go deep into when the child care system, when people want to adopt kids. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Are we open to allowing two male men to come in and adopt a young boy or a young girl? You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's something that I think it's a touch touching conversation, to have.
Yeah.
And I think it's always going to be two sides to it because I mean, if you some people base things off the Bible, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and they may say, you know, my outlook is always, we have freedom to do what we want to do. As long as you're not hurting anybody, do what you want to do. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I do feel like sometimes when certain agendas are being pushed stronger for
Mm-hmm.
certain reasons, I do get a little bit bothered by that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you put stuff in the cartoons, I just don't think it's needed. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's needed. I mean, I don't really think of 5-year-olds thinking about being gay. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't think that you have to have cartoons that approach that area at that age. You know what I'm saying? If you want to have grown adult stuff, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I just don't feel like that. You know, kids should be focusing on certain things they need to focus on. And I just think
Yeah.
that's already difficult for kids in general. And times have changed. Like when I was growing up in school, you know, you would you would barely see people walking around, especially boys walking around, that would come across as you thinking maybe in gay or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did, they was like, ooh, don't say nothing. They were, very secret about it. Until
Right.
I got ready to almost graduate, I started seeing more of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
For, more open minded, more willing to be freedom. And then, of course, when I got out of school and stuff, and years later, you really see it's very freedom of speech. And like I said, that's not an issue at all. But I just think that it does get things complicated in life. You know what I mean? And I don't think we're going to answer this question today, but just what's your outlook? Because again, you're in a situation where you have a daughter. You know what I'm saying? But do you feel like if you had a friend? I mean, if you knew, would you? All right, let me ask you this question. Let me break it down.
Okay.
If it was a choice for a child to go into a household, what would your feelings be if you had to choose to go into a household with two men or in a heterosexual household? I mean, this
See that.
it's a
So
difficult.
no. So I'm gonna tell you something. Especially being like as a parent,
Right.
if that was my choice, their sexuality is not my first question.
And that's what I want. That's what I want to
It's
know
not
from
my
you.
first question, and it's like because again, when you think of, I'm gonna give you a prime example. Like I'm a Christian, right? Like my beliefs are based in the Bible, and I navigate that through my own struggles and trying to build from that.
Right.
But in the same vein, I'm also human. So when you're talking about children, I can't look at I can't look at something with a more skewed view than what a court will look at. For example,
Right.
when courts do decisions when it comes to children, what they say is that what is in the best interest of this child.
Right.
And you can be in a heterosexual relationship and the home is chaotic.
Right. Of
You
course.
can be in a homosexual relationship or lesbian, whatever, and there's peace and there's love
But let's take
and
all
there's
that away
stability.
because
But
that always going to make a difference. Of course, if you're being
it
in an abusive
does.
situation, I'm just saying let's take they're both good families. Let's just say they're both good families. They're not. No one's a bad family. They both are good families. You have two male men, good family, and you have a hetero family, good family. Just in your mindset, if that child was somebody you had invested interest into, and like I said, I'm just asking.
So then my second question would be I would then look at the child and I would evaluate my knowledge of the child. Because it's like if your settings are the same, basically, who is going to nurture the gifts, talents, and abilities that are in this child? So it's still like my perspective is different because it's like going back to when she was speaking, like giving her a neutral ground
Right.
because children should have a neutral ground. They shouldn't be exposed to sexualized things. They shouldn't be exposed to alcoholism. They shouldn't be exposed to all these
But are
other
we taking
things.
away? Let's be honest. When you go through school, you're taught certain things, right, from sex education on up, right? So you are taught.
I'm gonna tell
So
you why
you
my
are
perspective is
taught what
different.
sex education is,
Yeah,
right? You
all
are
that.
taught that a man and woman eventually, you know what I'm saying, procreate, right? We are
Right.
taught that, right? And we are taught that that's the way life is supposed to go on, right? Right.
Right.
So, and that's naturally how I would say life is supposed to go on. We're supposed to procreate. You know, I do feel like if we all were homosexual, it would be almost impossible to procreate. You know what I mean? So I do feel like I do believe in God that in general that we are put in here from animals onto us
Right.
to procreate somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? And I don't believe it's because man came in and say I found ways to have a child without procreating. That means that that's what God
Intended.
intended us to be. So I always do feel like no matter what people's decisions are, that it would be hard for us to keep on growing as a population
I
or
agree.
as people if that was the true intentions. But I do feel like even if we go talking about sin, sin is a sin. So I don't feel like that if it was a sin is worse than another sin. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I don't feel like you should be treated completely different because of that because we all sin. But I do feel like in general when I go to the kids, it's just hard for me to say I would want a male boy to be in a household like that. And in my general reason is because I do feel like that will affect the child.
Well, let me ask you this
And
question.
I'm not and like I said, I'm not saying that put him in a bad situation. I'm not saying that.
No, I'm not. So let me ask you this question. If let's say that you have two man.
Mic close up to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's say you have two manly men, right, that are in this household, but then you have a heterosexual couple where the man is a more effeminate man.
Right.
He's straight,
Right.
but he's very soft spoken.
Right.
He's very light and very feminine.
Right.
But he loves women.
Right.
Do you still view that the same?
I still view that the same because he's a man still. You know, all men aren't going to be strong, manly figures, and I won't take that from a dude that's not like that and make him not a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Right.
do know men that are like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I wouldn't take. They still do. You know, you wouldn't mess with them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're
Right.
still not like no punks or anything because
Yeah.
they have that in them. I feel like if his nature is raising that boy as a man, and I feel like in any household, a child seeing a mother and father figure is always great, substance to a child. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. And I'm saying, when I say what it is, I feel like even women and women, man and man, I feel like a child ultimately best of both worlds. I feel like it's always the best situation. Now, like I said, that we're talking about in the ideal, everybody's good
Right.
situation. Of course, if it's something crazy going, that's something that
Yeah.
changes the whole context of everything. But I just feel like it's even, even when women try to raise boys as being single. It's hard.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I have a sister. You know, I've seen my nephew and I've seen what's going on. I've seen things that I've seen that could have been done that made him into who he is now, and things I'm like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
if he had the father figure there, that I know he wouldn't go ways that I'm like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? I saw him from, and I watched and I seen things that happened, and I
Mhm.
kind of was like, I felt that it was going to go that direction because of certain things he was missing. And a lot of people that I know that, had those issues were because, a mother's trying to do all she can do to raise that child.
Right.
And it's hard for a mother to be the father too. No matter how much we want to say, it's hard.
You
You
can't be a
know?
father. And that's something I always
Yeah.
say, that like people, I feel like when you think about certain things in your mindset, like being a single mom, you have to do a lot, but you can never replace a father. Like a woman cannot be a father. If you just can't be. And it's like, and the thing is that acknowledging that is like your first step to being able to feel that for them. I'm sorry, okay. But yeah, so like to your point, right? My first comment on the subject was that it takes a village. So it's like, as someone who is raising children, I've seen different dynamics, even to their older sister.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was my first time like seeing a same sex couple and raising this child. And I know their father, and he's very active, but this is what's going on in her life. And now to the point where she's in a relationship where she sees, her mother is happy with another a man and has had more children, and to see that the love and care and support of her never wavered, whether it was male and male, or female and female, or male and female, whatever, or even having a step parent involved, like the child, that's, you can't, because you can't relegate that. You can't, you never know which direction it's going to go. And it's just like, all you can do is just care for them in the best that you can. And it's just like, my view on that is just like, I can't call it, honestly.
In my life, I've seen two same sex relationships with women raise two sons. I mean, each situation had a son. I've seen them raise them from probably like, let me say, like 8 to maybe like 21. For one of them was like, since he was born, to maybe like 12. I don't talk to him anymore, but this is a few years ago, and it was, that was a good outlook of just, and every situation is different, so I'm not going to use those situations in blanket statement and everything, but
Right.
it was just, and this was years ago, so it was more kind of like interesting back then because it wasn't something that was going on like that. But it was it was it was uncomfortable sometimes, because I felt bad for the son. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie. I should be over there sometimes and just like, and as he got into a teenager, he used to really like, be very outspoken and
Yeah. So
and
you
kind
like
of,
talk to him about
I
stuff?
mean, not really. I could just see how his mannerism became. You know what I'm saying? As him turning into going to high school, he would say things about kids in school, saying stuff. And he turned to, started getting kind of angry and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And he was embarrassed to have his friends come over the house and stuff like that. And it was a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that situation, the boy, he ended up he didn't turn homosexual or anything like that. He wasn't gay, but he ended up having he had kids at a young age. He had like 4 kids before he was like even 18 years old.
Mm.
I had 4 kids at 18 years old. I mean, he just was just out there. And so the second situation, I'm not gonna lie, by the boy, by the time that boy was 8 years old, I thought he was. definitely going to the other side.
Right.
I'm not
I
gonna lie.
mean, I feel like
And now he was wearing dresses at 9 and putting his mom's heels on it, and and the way she was raising, I was like, she's being too like it was. I
Flexible.
saw it. It was
Yeah.
just like, and he definitely. I feel like now I haven't seen him in a while, but I would probably expect it would be that way.
going back to my personal thoughts on it, I feel like even though I decide to deal with a woman, I don't expose Riley to that.
Right.
I don't expose my daughter to that. So like
Right.
yeah, she will see us hanging together. We might all be out as a collective,
Right.
but am I tonguing her down in front
Right.
of you? No. Are we in the bed bumping you know what
Right.
together? Like no. I do feel like everybody is like deserving of the love of a child.
Right.
Whether it's two men, two women, because like I worked in a fertility clinic. So I seen women come through and men come through and want to have babies, and to see them go through that, to not be able to get that just because of what they like because I like women or because two men like each other, they're not supposed to be able to love or have a child.
Right.
So I really feel like to each his own. Um, Definitely, just because that's your lifestyle, don't mean that, like she said earlier, you have to expose your kids to certain things.
Right.
Like, yeah, I might drink, but that doesn't mean I'm about to get drunk and trash in front of my daughter. Like, yeah, she knows her mom drinks, but am I getting drunk with her, around her, in her area? Like, kids are going to grow up and they're going to have their own life. I'm trying to, like, learn as a mom to not put so much pressure on myself to go through these years babysitting and pacifying something that is, like, going to be gone soon.
Right.
She's going to have her own life and her own husband or kids or whoever. And these years are crucial on both parts, yours and your child. Like you have to pour into them, but you also have to pour into yourself as well. You can't lose yourself trying to please or worry about how your child feel about you, because one thing I can say, I don't care what I do, my daughter loves everything about me.
Right.
Like, and I learned that. Like, it's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I know she gonna be mad or I know she gonna be upset about this, but she still looks at me the same, loves me the same. So I have to like know that like she's gonna want to see me happy.
Right.
I used to think, oh, she wants me and her dad to be together. She knew I wasn't happy with her dad. So she just wants whatever makes me happy, whether it's another woman, whether it's a man. I just feel like your kids just want to see the best you. And for you to be the best you have to also let them be them.
Right.
So I just feel like to each his own. If you decide to be that way, I just don't feel like you have to expose them to so much. Or if it's two men, you don't have to be so flamboyant. It's not about being gay, because being gay is what it is. But it's just about being so out in the open with certain things. That's what becomes like a what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know the word I'm looking for. That's what becomes influential when you do those type of things.
Well, I agree. Well, like I said, we're going to keep it moving. I don't want to stay on this topic too long, but I think it was very educational, and I think it's a good conversation to have. I think that it's a conversation that everybody's never always going to agree on. It gets really deep sometimes, but we're going to keep it moving on that one. Before we close out the show, I want to do one last little quick topic. This is something easy, lighten up everybody a little bit after we went through a little deep topic real quick. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna start with Noel, since you're the third in line. I've been hitting with the third one. So what do you feel about the pros and cons of working in the nightlife? Real quick, pros and cons of working in the nightlife.
The pros, definitely the fast money. I started working in the nightlife when I was 20. I'm 29 now. I keep saying every night that I go to work that this is my last night doing it. And then when I count the money, I'm like, all right, I can't stop yet. The cons is definitely my sleep is so deprived. My life as well. Like my friends go out and do stuff. I'm like, oh, I got to go to work.
Right.
Definitely the cons, the men that you deal with or the women that you deal with, it's always going to be an issue about something, whether it's the clothes you got to wear, whether it's people in your face all night. That was definitely an issue in my last relationship.
Right.
The insecurities. Like, you got to have tough skin. Like, it's not for the weak. Like, it is not for the weak. Like, you got to know what you're getting yourself into dealing with a girl in the nightlife. Um, but yeah, definitely the money, the cons. I mean, the pros, sorry.
All right, working in the nightlife. I mean, I know you've been in the nightlife, promote marketing, PR, all that different stuff,
Music in
music.
general.
So just being in the nightlife, pros and cons with you, Piper.
So interesting enough, I feel like so let me give it some background. So my mom was a nurse, well, she is a nurse. And she always worked the night shift. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up watching her like having to sleep through the day and then like planning her time with us around her work schedule and then knowing like when we were sleeping, she's up working and doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So for me, it was very normal to see that. And so when I started like doing my own thing or dealing with my children, I was very happy because I felt like I had the opportunity to be there in the morning, be there during the day when I send them to school, pack lunches, get her ready for get my daughter ready or my son ready if he has doctor's appointments, or whatever needs to happen during the day. But I also have the flexibility to still get my own money and do it at night. So for me, being able to balance, like, and again, having to figure out how to balance your sleep on top of that is also very important. But that was a pro to me because it gave me that flexibility. As far as cons, it's like you do have to deal with a lot of creepy stuff. You do have to deal with the pull on your relationships because it's like it's hard. Like sometimes, people are they are in your face,
Right.
but it's just like for someone that is not that way or they don't do nightlife, it's just like it's an exercise of trust and communication, and that can be on the con side like a lot of times. Or then if you're actually like real life working in the nightlife, like I work in nightlife, I work in entertainment, so for me this is business, so I'm not out here doing anything. And then to deal with someone who feels as though they can be just outside just for the sake of outside because you're outside. Yeah, but I'm working. You're out here just thotting. Like you're just out here partying. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a weird dynamic. But I don't know. Like that's really my main thing. Cons, I feel like people are like really fake in the nightlife.
Definitely fake.
Yeah.
Definitely fake. Well, like I said, I'm gonna say pros and cons. Pros is definitely money, 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 and money. That's the only pros. Like,
Come alive at night.
I mean, honestly, that's probably the only pros. Honestly, I mean, I mean, to have fun making money. The pros is having fun making money, and you kind of get to meet a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Cons, you won't be in a relationship that's gonna last long.
You're gonna have to fight for your life every night.
Your nights are gone. You try to plan trips to go out of town. It won't be the weekend. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's your money making time.
Okay.
And safety. Because you got to be going out late at night, coming back home late at night.
With all that money.
Being prepared that if you do drink and drive, you have to worry about drinking and driving. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, like you said, it's not for the weak. If you interested in being in nightlife and you like what they're saying and you don't care about the cons, sign up. Phantom Thursdays, we'll be there. We'll sign everybody up. But